The way the game's been going, I feel like it's so stupid to just be like, yeah, Byleth is mid-tier, but Leo's winning everything because he's Leo. So I feel like the tiers have to be different. Because while technically this will still be an ordered tier list, basically it's going to be essentially characters that you really shouldn't play, that you can play as a secondary, that you can play by themselves if you are really, really, really good, and then the characters that are most likely to only have to use them throughout. Which is basically the same thing as being like top, low, mid, whatever, like that's kind of the same thing. But basically it's characters that don't have a use in the meta, characters that have a use in the meta but are hard to play by themselves, characters that are good enough to play by themselves, characters that are definitely good enough to play by themselves, and characters you technically... I just feel like it's not productive to have those type of tier lists anymore, especially in Ultimate where, like, again, you have 25 top tiers, you have 25 high tiers, you have 30 mid tiers, and you have 10 low tiers. Like, that doesn't look right, so I'd rather have it like this. The meta changed because offline exists again. Like, the last tier list I made, offline didn't really exist. But now, like, plenty of events have happened, both in Japan, in the States, in Europe. Unviable, we're gonna start with your boy Ganondorf. Again, these are, like, relatively ordered. I'm not gonna say that Ganondorf's the definitive worst character. But yeah, Ganon's just bad. He's slow, edgeguardable. Sometimes he can make upsets, sometimes he can do good stuff, but I feel like overall he's just not worth it as a character. He's never got significant buffs. He's just struggles in like every aspect. He struggles with people that have good out of shield, he struggles with people that have good range, he struggles with speed, with projectiles, with edge guarding, which is like literally every character, except for the other bad ones. Next up, Dr. Mario. I saw him on the list. I don't know where Little Mac is. Dr. Mario is also still pretty bad. Like, he has his place. Like, he can make some upsets. Like, unviable characters, just to get, you know, be clear, unviable characters are still, like, they have upset potential. Like, we saw Bacon beat Charlie the King at Glitch. We've seen Rickles have good runs, right? Like, it's not like these characters are 100% you're gonna lose every set, but it's basically you have to hard outplay your opponents consistently, and you just need to be way better than them. And Doc is a character that you can out mid-range, you can outspeed, out projectile, you can out damage, you can out combo. So it's really difficult. He does have some stuff, of course. I mean, down tilt up B, down tilt back air, down throw down B, but like it's just hard to do enough with this character to like say he's anything other than unviable. Like, you're not gonna top 8 a major with this character as a main. Another character that in my opinion is unviable is Little Mac. Peanut's mad good. You're gonna see my video uploading tomorrow on YouTube as of recording this. Little Mac's mad good. So like Peanut's really good. Little Mac is still a struggle though because he's inconsistent. The problem is he's not worth it to have a secondary because he's inconsistent. He's not worth it to solo main. He's definitely not solo mainable because in terms of like trying to top 8 a major, right? Because he's inconsistent. So it doesn't matter the peaks of this character because the valleys are lower and honestly more likely. Speaking of inconsistent, again, this isn't ordered, just for clarity's sake. I can maybe order it later. Lucario. He's just really inconsistent. He has a ton of bad matchups across the board. The best Lucario in the world is probably Armadillo, and he's secondaries Pyramithra for like the awkward matchups, which are a lot of them. I just think Lucario's not worth it. His Aura Sphere is not that good. His pressure and stuff is really good. His Aura Sphere, the Legend comboing into back air, comboing into up smash, he has some stuff. Maybe he's a little higher than this. Maybe he's like the bottom of secondary viable. But again, I don't even know why you would secondary this character because you're gonna secondary a character to hope you are losing, that you don't like. I don't know what matchups Lucario like hard wins. If you don't have a hard win matchup, I don't think you're viable. Whether secondary, solo, or super. Like, I don't think characters that are like slightly winning or losing most of their matchups are viable at all. And I think that is what Lucario falls in. Isabelle. The problem with Isabelle is, one, I don't think she's very good. Like, I really don't think Isabelle's very good. I think she loses a lot of matchups. I think she's not a particularly good zoner. She doesn't have a way to force the opponent to approach, really, because she's Void Rocket. She has some good moves. I mean, Slingshot's still good. Up air's good. Fishing Rod's okay. She has Jab, of course, which is really good. Well, the problem with Isabelle, too, is something that I'm also talking about in this tier list is if you are going to pick up a secondary for some reason and you want to look at Isabelle, there's no reason to use her over Villager. I don't know what matchups Isabelle has that is better than Villager. So if you're going to pick up one of these two characters, pick up Villager. Like, I don't think there's a reason to play Isabelle, which is unfortunate, but yeah. And then also another character that's in here. I don't think he's this bad. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's this bad. I think he's bad, but I don't think he's this bad as Marth. The problem with Marth is that even though he's mediocre, like clearly he's not bottom 6. And I'm not gonna say that, but this is kind of the structure of this tier list. I really don't know why you would play Marth. If you are picking up a sword character, there are so many better ones that don't have projectiles. Have Dolk, Mithra, Braum, Roy, Lucina, of course, Corrin, like Ike. There are so many better sword characters. I don't know why you would play Marth. I don't think he's viable. I don't think he's secondary viable because he's still difficult because you have to consistently get tippers. So I don't understand why you would secondary this character or why you would main this character, because they're inconsistent, so they're literally not worth it for tournament. They're quite literally not worth it for tournament. Again, I'm not saying he's bottom 6. I'm not, but I just think he's unviable because why would you play him? There's no reason to play him. If you want to play a character with tippers, you play Sephiroth, you know? But essentially, yeah, like there's literally no reason to use Marth over Lucina or the 9 other sword characters. Oh yeah, also another character I think is really, really bad. Definitely unviable. Piranha Plant. Thank you, Chad. I literally forgot about this character because he's so unremarkable. I think this character just, he ledge traps and that's it. And his ledge trapping is not even that good. He has like no out of shield options. His combo game is very subpar. His damage output's actually pretty good in terms of Patui and Poison Cloud, but like that's it. I don't really know what, like he's bad. Like he's just a bad character. He doesn't have good movement options. He doesn't have a good recovery. His armor is all very mediocre. And there are plenty of ways to play around his best stuff. In terms of like Patui, just like grab him, then do the throw, right? Like that's a big thing. So Plant, yeah, not very good. Marth is definitely better than Plant though. I started releasing a 13.0 tier list. I recorded it like 2 weeks ago, and then 13.0.1 came out with a balance patch. So I'll basically be giving little addendums that you'll see in this garb, because I'm gonna record at least some of them right now, about characters that are in these different tiers in these different parts of the tier list, and I'll talk about why the buffs mattered or did not matter, in addition to what I was already saying about them. So for Piranha Plant, I'm not exactly sure how the buffs actually changed Piranha Plant's play. It still seems very similar. I don't think forward tilt not being strong was it mattered. I don't know how much the down B is going to matter. I'm assuming it'll make it a little harder to edge guard, so it's good. They're definitely good, but I don't know how much of a difference that makes. I haven't seen anything on Twitter about Piranha Plant. I don't know if down tilt still combos or like combos into more things now. So I'm still going to keep Piranha Plant down in unviable tier. Oh no, there's one more character down here. In my opinion, it's really bad. Donkey Kong. I think this character sucks. I think he's the worst heavy. I think he's fast, sure, but he has like one of the worst disadvantages in the game. Really interceptable recovery, good normals, and a pretty good advantage state, but again, he's not really like as scary as a lot of other characters. I think this character is bad. I think this character is really bad. I could be wrong. Again, like DK has some stuff, but I think DK is like not good. For Donkey Kong, I actually think that DK's buffs matter quite a bit, at least enough to get him out of unviable tier. He's still probably the worst heavy and is at best in secondary viable tier, but the down tilt hit stun matters because it means it's going to be less minus on hit at low percents, it combos into back air at higher percents, it combos into itself a couple more times, and because DK's down tilt has a really high trip rate, it's really likely that you're going to get down tilt either immediate trip or down tilt combo into down tilt immediate trip into dash attack, into grab, into whatever you basically want, which is really, really good. I think also the punch armor helps his disadvantage a little bit in getting off the ledge because you have to respect Giant Punch a bit more, so it's not only going to be like, oh, it kills you at 40 off of a trip or something like that, but also just getting at a disadvantage. He has another tool, and that's one of the worst parts about DK, and one of the things that was scarier about Smash 4 DK, so having that back is kind of nice, at least just like, again, a little bit of a help. A frame, 2 frames, 3 frames always helps, and I think that that's a pretty reasonable buff, and I think it does matter, so I would bump him up into secondary viable tier. Ice Climbers. Alright, this is actually the last character. 4, 5, 9 characters. Maybe 10. Maybe I'll put 10th. I don't know. As Ice Climbers. I think Ice Climbers has by far, honestly, not by far, but I guess one of the characters with the most unwinnable matchups in the game. Like, if you play Ice Climbers, you run into like, there are probably like 15 to 20 characters that this character just cannot beat. Whether it's Min Min, Snake, Mithra, Pac-Man, the Belmonts, probably like Banjo, maybe Bayo, Samus. Like, there are so many characters that just absolutely obliterate Ice Climbers. Whereas I don't know what other, like, Ice Climbers have like really good peaks, obviously, but I really don't think they're a good character. People are still bad at killing Nana, but like he's definitely one of the characters that are up there. Big D was able to beat Skittles. Big D is a god, but I really think this character's just bad. The first character I want to put in secondary viable is Meta Knight. Meta Knight is honestly a really good counterpick, because if your character has ladders, or if the ladders work on your character very well, character probably wins the matchup. I think Meta Knight has a winning matchup, arguably, against Game & Watch. Very good matchup against Rob. Maybe a good matchup versus, like, Samus. So he's a good check for a couple people. Bonk is pretty good, not gonna lie. But, like, if you run into a matchup that is hard, like, you just lose, right? Like, you know, Bonk had a really good bracket player, which was Waddy, because he had to fight Rob Mewtwo, which those are two matchups that Meta Knight arguably goes even or beats because he hits you and kills you. So Meta Knight is definitely a good secondary. I don't think you should main the character, but he's definitely a very good secondary. With Bonk and you have Ye that are good with the character. So he's useful, but I don't think he's super good. Future ESAM here again, so I wanted to talk about Meta Knight's buffs because I do think they kind of make him more of a polarizing character in a good way for him, because forward air, back air, and up smash all got buffed. And so forward air and back air obviously are going to help his edge guarding, specifically back air, of course. That move is already incredibly strong and now it's more powerful. Same with forward air, and up smash is going to have it like hit better. I think those are really important because I do think that along with the ladder combos that Meta Knight is obviously known for, it's his best matchups are ones that really works in. If he can edge guard a character, that is also a huge deal, because just against poor recovery characters, he hits them a single time, doesn't ladder them necessarily, but hits them all the way across the stage and then gets edge guards. And with Bear, like, it's gonna kill so early now. Like, even the light characters that have good recoveries, like let's say Pac-Man, Pikachu, those are the two I really think of off the top of my head. Characters like Rosa that don't necessarily die to the initial hit, but get hit off stage, but then can make it back later with their recovery. This back air and forward air buff can make it a little bit more difficult for them to live, because if you're wrong once, that back air or forward air now kills you instead of almost killing you. It makes his out of shield options better, and I think that's actually pretty important. I wouldn't put him above still this tier, but like, even though this tier is not really ordered, I would still probably bump him up in it, at least like 5 or 6 spots. I do think the buffs help. Maybe Lucario's here. I'll put Lucario in viable, because he's not like as bad as these characters, but like, he's just no reason to secondary him, but he's like minorly viable. Next character down here, Mii Swordsman. I don't think Mii Swordsman is particularly useful. Still a sword character. Why would you not pick up a bunch of people? Like, they're, you know, sword characters are one of the strongest archetypes in this game, so like, why would you play Mii Swordsman? But also, he has projectiles and he can be annoying. He still like has decent neutral, pretty safe moves, good killing, great up air. Oh my god, his up air is so good. Chakram's a good projectile. Tornado's an okay projectile, just it still forces people to like air dodge to the ground and stuff. Like, if they don't have an option, sometimes people just get hit, or like have to air dodge up, in which case then you just like dash grab and forward throw them off stage. It can 2-frame, and depending on your set, like, he can have a good recovery. He can cheese people with like the multi-part up B going down. So I think he's like not as bad as some people think, but he's still not good. Basically, think Gunner's worse? No, Gunner's absolutely not worse. What the f? Gunner has like the second best ledge dropping in the game. Again, this is unordered, just for reference. I'll try to order it later, but like, don't yell at me if like a character is like lower than you expect them to be relatively, because these tiers are still huge. Rosa, I think she is viable. I don't think she's super good. I don't think you should solo main Rosa ever, because she again has a lot of bad matchups, and a lot of characters can rush her down and kill her. But in the matchup, she's good. She's good. She's good against a lot of zoners. She's good against characters that have really susceptible disadvantage states. And she's good against characters that need to get in. Like, we saw Rosa beat Game & Watch, right? Like, DeBuzz beat Meister's Game & Watch. You know, probably still an even matchup. I don't think winning. Maybe winning, but like, it's just a character that keeps you out. Good against Sonic, good against like a couple of important meta characters. But like, I still think overall she gets overwhelmed, and you have to be really good with her. And as for Rosa, of course, her buffs always kind of take a little bit to figure out if it's good. I already thought Rosa's down smash was an amazing move. good for tech chasing and stuff like that, but now it's going to be more consistent because of the inward hitbox being bigger and also thicker, which is nice for Rosa because down smash, again, one of her better moves, so the fact that it made it more functional is really, really nice. The bigger buff, I don't exactly know how it works. I don't even know how it works with my character because I haven't played a Rosa since the patch, is that certain moves won't put Luma into tumble anymore, and if they do put Luma into tumble, it's going to be less far. Basically, that's going to make entirely different routes to kill Luma. For certain characters, I'm sure some moves still work, and so some will be able to have the same game plan, but I think that's a really big deal. I mean, for me, like, I can imagine if my back air didn't put Luma's into tumble anymore, like, that would hugely change the matchup, and I'm sure there are probably a couple of relevant matchups at least where things like that happen. So I think that could be a big buff for Rosa. Again, no idea right now, I haven't seen any specifics on it, but it could be a big deal, and if it is like actually a bit harder to kill Luma, I could definitely see Rosa bumping up to the solo viable tier, which is the tier above the secondary viable. But yeah, I mean, I honestly am excited to see this because I love watching Rosa in this game. I think she's one of the coolest characters. She's just not super good. So I'm excited to see if this actually makes a difference because I would love to see more Rosa at top level play. To Buzz, stop going Waldemar versus me and just go Rosa, it's fine. Banjo. I think this character is not good, but also he's still good enough to annoy people. He still beats a ton of, like, enough characters because some people still struggle to approach him. He still has got a bunch of good tech. Maybe he's lower than this, but like, I think he's still good enough to secondary. Just, I mean, there's not a real reason to secondary him as a zoner character unless you like him, because like you could definitely just play Samus or Mewtwo or like others, Zoner, Rob, Pac-Man, etc. But like he can be useful. It's not like Marth where he's strictly outclassed by other characters, because Banjo's still unique, has invincibility, a better recovery than a lot of Zoner characters. So like he's still like good. Also down here, Incineroar. I think Incineroar is really exploitable and honestly not that good of a character, but all the Incineroars be doing kind of good. Mystery Soul got 9th at port priority. Skyjay has top 32'd or better like 3 of the events since coming back. So there's something about this character that's working, and this is kind of my compromise. Like this tier is kind of like my compromise of I think the character sucks, but like they're doing well, so I guess they're good. Yeah, I mean, I played Skyjay in tournament twice now. One at the pre-glitch local, and then I played him at main stage. He's really good, and he's just terrifying, right? Revenge is still good. You know, Alolan Whip kills mad early. He has some cheese. He has some good things. And if you're not a character that can strictly just run away from him the whole time, you might struggle. And his recovery is edgeguardable, but it's not like the easiest to edgeguard. It's harder to edgeguard than, let's say, Dr. Mario's, in my opinion, because he can at least recover high well. And he has, of course, great normals. Again, if this character was faster, he'd be broken. But he's not. Like, if you get a read on if you get a player read as Incineroar, you're just gonna like destroy people. Also down here is Bowser Jr. Yeah, Bowser Jr. is overall, he's okay. I think when people know the matchup, he's not that great of a character, but again, you can't ignore some results. Right, like Yoda Cage getting, what, 13th or 9th at Glitch. He's done consistently well. Catch Up beating Light. You know, like, there's enough spots where it's like, okay, this character's not bad. Like, he's definitely not unviable. He's not good, but he's not unviable, right? For Bowser Jr., unfortunately, I've seen a lot of people be excited about this buff. I really don't think it makes that much of a difference. It's pretty hard to hit spin out. An up smash is honestly probably the bigger buff, but killing 4 or 5% earlier isn't a huge deal. Again, it does help because I've seen plenty of situations where Bowser Jr. up smash almost kills, doesn't, then they lose the stock or the game, or like a game or a set because of it, so it definitely helps. The spin out obviously helps. It helps with shield break punishes. It probably is better for shield breaking with the cannonball setup as well, but I really just don't think his buffs matter that much. Like down tilt, it still doesn't really have its place in Bowser Jr.'s toolkit, even if it is better. And so yeah, I'm kind of just pessimistic about these. I still think Bowser Jr. is basically the same exact character, but I could be wrong. Obviously, it's been a day and a half since the patch, but I really don't think it makes that much of a difference. Down here is also Kirby. I think Kirby's better than, again, I've always thought Kirby was better than people gave him credit for. I think this character is really good. Well, really good. I think the character has stuff. Kirby is one of the best crouches in the game. Really, probably the best set of tilts in the game, or one of them. Good edge guarding, pretty good disadvantage. The problem is he's edge guardable, he's slow, he can get camped out pretty hard. Like if you have the lead against Kirby, you can just run away from him the whole time. But again, he has a lot of good combos, especially with like Dare Ride and stuff like that. character's really awkward because he forces the ground game, right? Like he constantly plays the ground game, which is very unlike most characters in this game because a lot of characters like to jump. And even though Kirby has a bunch of jumps, you're generally gonna want to like do like short hop fairs or like down tilt, up tilt, etc. Which is interesting, but I think he's better than people give him credit for, but still not super good. Also down here is Ridley. I think Ridley's got some stuff, obviously. There are a lot of Ridleys in like the MDVA region for some reason, but I think that Ridley overall is just not super good. He has an awkward recovery, even though it's hard to mess with. His command grab's reactable, but it does a ton of damage. He doesn't really have that many combos, but the combos he has are very good, like down throw, fair, F tilt does a lot. His Nair is an incredible move. His back air's good. Like, he has a bunch of good moves. They just don't, as I mentioned before in other tier lists, it doesn't really coalesce into a kit. He's good. He's a good character. I think all these characters are good characters, but like just underwhelming in some aspect. And I think Ridley's definitely in that aspect. Like, if he gets the reads of the forward smash, like, he's good. If he has the edge guards, he's great. If you get the spike with the up B, he's super good. Like, Nair from Mexico, his Ridley is insane. He's one of the people to beat Spargo since Offline came back, and that is a very, very small list of players. The next character down here, I saw them before, is the Belmonts. Dom's been doing stuff. But also, then he got like 49th at main stage. Yeah, that's the Cosmos, that's a rough matchup. And then Stroder beat him. So again, this is 17th, 25th, 33rd. So we got like 33rd, which is like pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good. Main stage was crazy. Main stage was insane. He's still like top 5, I think, in SoCal. He's doing really well, but I just think, again, he's inconsistent, and he still has a ton of bad matchups. So I don't think solo viable, but he's definitely like a better character than at least I thought before. Yeah, he's still down here. Another character who's down here is K. Rool. Dude, I thought this character used to be like terrible. But yo, Kirby Kid just hits people. Kirby Kid is so good. He's actually so good. I played him and I watched him at Smash World Tour. He's so good. Like and he's doing it with K. Rool. But like, I think Kirby Kid's doing so well and consistently beating like several players. And I think he's a good player. I think this character has the tools to be better than I expected. I mean, before I would put K. Rool like here, up there. But I think after watching Kirby Kid and understanding the character, especially with like all of his 2-frame abilities, down air, back air, down tilt can 2-frame into up smash, which is overall K. Rool's pretty decent. Still has a ton of losing matchups, but it's harder to deal with him than I thought, especially after the recent buffs. But yeah, I think K. Rool's pretty good. Like, again, not great, but pretty good. Oh, Day-to-Day. I miss Day-to-Day. Day-to-Day still kind of sucks. Day-to-Day's not good. Day-to-Day's probably here, honestly. But, yeah, Day-to-Day sucks. I can't believe I missed Day-to-Day. Day-to-Day's not good. I think this character's really bad. I think he's very slow. I think he's a bad projectile character. He's a bad heavy. He doesn't have the crazy good things that heavy has, heavies have, which is normally, like, ridiculous kill potential, except for, like, dash attack. I think Day-to-Day is, like, a very underwhelming character. I mean, Adamisk be doing work, so honestly I'm gonna put him here. Adamisk is beating people that he shouldn't, so that means either everyone sucks, or the character's not as bad as I thought, because I mean, he beat like Light. Like, after Light beat SmashCon, he literally beat him. So, yeah. That's rough. Beat Dark Wizzy at Summit, and has had some pretty good wins. I mean, he was like in top 3 of a New York regional. So the character's good enough, clearly, to do something. I don't think he's a good character, but I guess I wouldn't put him in the unviable here. The next character I want to talk about, Pit Dark Pit. Again, they share the same spot for me. I think that they are good, not great. Shiny Mark wants to play this character more seriously, which I'm very excited for. Shiny Mark's Pit's kind of crazy. But I think the character's just overall underwhelming. He doesn't have really any bad things about him, but he also doesn't really have any super good things about him. Decently fast, decently good edge guarding, decently good combos. Well, he has some actually pretty good combos with like Nair drag down stuff, but they're niche and they're difficult to hit. So he just doesn't have anything crazy about him. Like, when I'm playing a lot of characters in this game, even if I'm winning by a lot, I'm like, okay, but I gotta watch out for like their couple things. Whether it's like the stupid edge guard, the stupid combo, the stupid kill potential, whereas Pit doesn't really have that. It's just like, if you're beating Pit, you're actually beating Pit. Pit and Dark Pit, I mean, good in different matchups. But I really just want, like, I think Pit can be better than this. but I still think he's just underwhelming overall. I think Robin's also down here. I think Robin's still not super good. Slow, easy to edgeguard, runs out of resources. If Robin like always had Levin Sword, this character would be threatening. But the thing is, like, if you swing too much, suddenly you don't have kill move or kill confirms or edge trapping. That's very good. You don't have fire. You don't have good ledge trapping. You don't have a kill jab. You don't have anything, and people can rush you down and kill you because of that. He struggles with short characters. They struggle with rush down characters that can deal with projectiles, better sword characters. So I just really don't think Robin is up to snuff, basically. I know people think this character's good. I don't see it. I really don't. Toon Link, of course, pretty good zoner, honestly. I think Toon Link has a lot of unique things that other zoners don't have. Mostly the fact that he's super floaty with a really good jump, and of course a sword. Most zoners don't have swords, except for the other two Links, except I wouldn't even consider Link a zoner. I would consider Young Link a zoner, but not Link. Good 2 frames, pretty decent kill potential, consistent kill confirms with boomerang and bomb into like up air or forward air. Z-drop bomb into up air is incredible. The fact that he Z-drop bombs is like, his bombs are pretty unique in general with just like their attributes, which is good for him. But overall, I think Toon Link is just not quite strong enough to be solo viable, but he's like pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. Another character I put down here is Zelda. I don't know why they keep buffing this character. I really wish they would stop. Zelda to me is terrifying, because I still don't understand how to fight that character, but still overall underwhelming. If you can deal with Nehru's Love, you can deal with Phantom. Like if you can like mid-range her really well, she struggles a lot. She has a really bad disadvantage. One of the worst juggle states in the entire game. Like even including the bad characters. She has really good, like when she's working, but when she doesn't, it's really bad. And the problem is there are a lot of characters in solo viable and super viable that really force her to not exist, which is a problem. Villager is okay. He's a mediocre zoning character, but I do think that he has some uses because he has things like bowling ball, up smash out of shield, up tilt. Of course, his zoning is way more annoying than Isabel's with slingshot, side B. His nair is really good as well. I think that overall, Villager's good. He has some good stuff about him. He's definitely playable, but I don't think he, in general, good. He gets outclassed by a lot of characters. He gets rushed down. He gets edge guarded. Doesn't have a hitbox on his recovery. It's just hard for him to do what he needs to do consistently. I want to see Pokelam at Majors because he's probably the best villager that I've seen. Rest in peace, Renai, just not being able to enter tournaments because he works on the game. But I think Villager has some good stuff, but I don't think it's good enough to compete with most of the characters in it. So I think the lowest character in solo viable, hi, welcome to the new video, Jigglypuff. This character loses a lot of matchups. Don't get me wrong, and I know that. But the thing about it, in Ultimate, sometimes it doesn't matter if you have losing matchups because you win anyway with explosive plays. Whether it's rest plays, whether it's edge guards, whether it's just good advantage state. This character can definitely do enough to fight with the top tiers. Of course, are there bad matchups like Samus or Wii Fit Trainer? Absolutely. But the character can do a lot versus a lot of characters. I mean, there's a reason why Base Mage pre-patch beat Cola, right? And like Cola's obviously a around top 10 player, and yet lost to Puff. Base Mage got 9th at board priority. Really did really well. Low-key should have beat Tweak. So I think Puff is the bottom of solo viable. If you want to argue the top of here, that's fine. I just think Puff is really good. And again, there are a lot of characters left. Like there are, just for reference, a ton of characters left. So it's not like this is like, oh man, like this is the end, this is she's broken. Like no. Also in this tier, the next character I want to talk about is Mii Gunner. I think Mii Gunner's better than people give them credit for. I think because of the fact that you can switch movesets, there are not a lot of really bad matchups. Probably still some, absolutely. But I think people like Capitancito are really showing what this character can do. I think Capitancito is amazing. I want to see him compete more in like mainland North America. This is really, really good. And Mii Gunner can do a lot. Like Mii Gunner can absolutely shut down the ledge. It's difficult to approach. Really good out of shield options, especially in terms of mostly up smash. But good killing with up smash, forward smash, back air, dash attack, charge shot, the grenade. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's good about this character that can kill. It's just they're not quite fast enough. But if you don't know, if you're not 100% comfortable in the matchup, you're gonna really, really struggle. And not a lot of people are, even at top level. The next character that's over here is a similar but different character, because it's still a zoner in Duck Hunt. I think Duck Hunt's really good. I think Duck Hunt's definitely solo viable. This character can do so much. Like, the can traps are crazy, and I think you can really, like, I mean, Raito got like top 8 at EVO with Duck Hunt by themselves. Of course, there are like the meta changed, and there's better zoner characters like Min Min probably shuts down this character, Steve probably shuts down this character. So maybe a couple more bad matchups since, of course, DLC Pack 2 existed. But I still think overall Duck Hunt can do it. I think you can definitely, like, for my definition of solo viable, it's like, oh, you can like probably make top 8 sometimes with this character. And I think Duck Hunt is absolutely in that tier. I think Duck Hunt's still a strong character, really frustrating to fight against. The camera movement's annoying, you can cover your recoveries, well, it'll still be edge guarded, and you don't exactly, like, the problem is, of course, with Duck Hunt is if you don't get an early setup kill, you can't really kill, because it can be a real struggle to kill the character occasionally. Another character here would be Mewtwo. I think Mewtwo is good enough. I think there are better charge characters, but I think Mewtwo has a lot of good stuff. I think Mewtwo is actually also does pretty good in meta. He doesn't like beat a ton of characters, but he doesn't lose badly. So if you're better than the opponent, you can just win. Is it hard to be better than your opponent consistently? Yeah, but I think it's definitely possible. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Mewtwo has some good stuff. I mean, kills really early, has a kill throw, edge cancels, decent recovery. Obviously, Mewtwo is a little inconsistent because of his tail stuff. But I think Mewtwo's like a pretty solid character, very fast, very scary. But I mean, Wally's been putting in work with this character. I mean, consistently getting like, what, top 16, 17, got 33rd at Frostbite, or sorry, at main stage, which is first placement, I'm pretty sure. So this character good, can do some good stuff. Has some decent matchups with like Snake, the Shotos. They're really good. Like Mewtwo's good, in my opinion. Like after watching Waddy a ton, I'm like, okay, yeah, like this character has a lot of stuff. Lucas is probably a little lower, actually. I think Lucas is good. I think Lucas has a lot of good stuff. I think the double jump cancels there stuff is ridiculous. I think this character has like good throws, maybe not like combo throws, but like good combos. Technically infinite-ish combos with like Zair chains across the stage. They're just hard and very technical. Good zoning, the ability to heal, floaty, so it can sometimes be annoying to hit. I think that we're still really missing, especially because Remy hasn't been performing super well because he gets a lot of anxiety in tournaments. I don't think we have like the top Lucas player, but I think Lucas is overall a very strong character without a ton of bad matchups. I definitely think he loses to like sword characters and stuff like that. But I think Lucas is like overall pretty good. Lucas is greater than Ness? Absolutely not. Ness is broken. No, there's still like, we're still missing like the top Lucas rep, but I think Lucas is really scary and really good. I think he has a lot of potential, and he's just a good character. Like, yes, he lose to characters like Palu and Pyramithra. Yeah, probably. But I think the character is like arguably better than Byleth, and Byleth is winning majors. So I think Lucas is very good, but it's just missing just a little bit of sauce. Next up is Bayonetta. Lima is destroying people. Lima has been doing so well with this character. Again, there's still a lot of characters left. Like, there are 45 characters left, 40-ish characters left. So I don't think Bayo is super high, but Bayo's been doing really well. And it's not just Lima, it's Tamim, mostly those two. But like, there are multiple, right, that are doing really well. They both got 9th at SmashCon. Literally 2 Bayonettas got 9th in SmashCon. And like, Lima is just really talented. He's been destroying Texas. He won that like North Carolina regional or whatever, beating like several good people. Yeah, Dialga's really good too. Upsetting Riddles. So like, this character has stuff. I think the matchups that this character loses are bad, and I think people still need to like work on their SDI flowcharts. But I think that Bayonetta's been doing really well recently. She has a great recovery. She has decent out of shield options. She does mad damage on combos, even though she can't really kill you most of the time. But she has plenty of ways to kill you if you're not a short electric rat. Overall, like, Bayo has some good stuff. And does she get outclassed by several characters? Yeah. But I definitely think she is good enough to make waves and can do really well at majors. The next character in solo viable is going to be Pichu. I think Pichu's pretty good. I think his offense is ridiculous. I think if he gets the hit, he's one of the scariest characters in the game. His advantage hit's really good. His combo routes are insane. Platforms are no platforms with IDJ. Everything about this character is terrifying, except if you just camp them. And that's really good versus Pichu. Pichu is incredibly light and dies to random kill moves, loses to projectiles because they will go through T-Jolt and hit T-Jolt, and of course Pichu hurts himself. So that's really rough. But at the same time, offense is crazy. Really good edge guarding, really early kills, really early everything. I think Pichu's underrated still. I think people pushed Pichu really far out of the meta, and especially like people still aren't paying attention to like Nietono, who I'm pretty sure still mains this character and still doing pretty well in Japan. Not like super well in Japan, but well enough. And then like Arfang hasn't been going to anything, and Void plays Sheik now. So like, kind of just like in a weird spot in the meta. Next up is Corrin. I think Corrin's good. I still think Corrin's better than people think Corrin is. I think Corrin's like a really good character. Like, yes, are there better sword characters? So is it necessarily super useful? No. Like, do they get strictly outclassed by Pyra/Mythra? Absolutely. But they're still unique enough and have a really good advantage state, really good kill aerials, good edge guarding. Back air is an amazing, one of the best normals in the game. But I think Corrin's overall very good with Pin. The problem is there are literally no top players that play Corrin. The best Corrin player that plays is Shattuck. And granted, Shattuck is very, very good. Shattuck is a good player. But like Cosmos, who was a perennial top 20-30 player, was going to play Corrin, and then Pyra/Mythra came out, and so they played Pyra/Mythra. I think Corrin's really good. I don't think their speed matters as much as people think it does, because they have giant normals, and like the character kills out the ass. Fair Dragon Fang shot, fair pin, fair back air, fair up air. Landing up air is really good, landing nair is really good. This character has a lot, like decent out of shield options, not super great, but like decent. And of course, like if you ever miss against Corrin, you're gonna take a ton of damage because of like their long combos. Landing fair at low percents can be like brutal, or platform extensions can be brutal. It's just like they're not as good as some of the other sword characters, so I think they're not like super viable, but I definitely think if you really wanted to play Corrin, there's absolutely no reason why you can't. Next up is Falco. I still think Falco is a little overrated compared to people, but I do think there have been enough Falcos doing well enough, especially Tilde, right? Tilda, whatever. Falco's definitely solo viable. I do think he loses a couple matchups pretty bad, but at the same time, again, with these heavy advantage state characters like Falco, it's like, did you get the hit? You might win, even if you lose the matchup 65-35, even though I don't think Falco has that bad of a matchup. But like the point is like, oh, you lose a 6-4 and it's like a common character, cool, but what if you get the hit or are simply better than them, and then you win, right? I think Falco definitely has the tools to win. But yeah, I think Falco's like pretty good. Again, it was one of the characters I wasn't sure about what was going to happen, and I definitely underrated Falco a couple times, but I think Falco's definitely good enough. And again, if you think about like the amount of characters and everything, would I still potentially put him in mid-tier if I had to? Yeah, but I think he's solo viable. I think these two tiers are absolutely huge because so many characters in Ultimate are viable just to play by themselves, which is ridiculous. Next up is Ken. I still think Ken is the worst of the fighting game characters. He's fast, and of course he's scary. Like, this is a good character, right? Like, these are all good characters. I think Ken is really scary. I think he has a ton of offensive pressure. Of course, he has really interesting combos, a little bit more SDI-able and a little bit less consistent than his counterparts, which is why, even though he has maybe higher peaks, I do think he's slightly worse than characters like Ryu. I think SDI affects him just as much as Ryu, and falling out of Shoryu is tragic. You know, cue the Vendetta versus Dabuz at Smash World Tour.
I thought he had it. Oh, he missed. Oh, okay.
But I think this character's really good. I think Shoto's, like, both Ken and Ryu are very good characters. I just think Ken's still the worst one, basically. I just think like the back throw and like the speed is not worth the better Hadouken and the more consistent things and like Tatsu killing and stuff like that. So, yeah. Next up is Byleth. Listen, still think a lot of people are playing this matchup incorrectly, but I'm going to take out my Pikachu bias if I have really good out of shield options and realize how difficult this character is to deal with. This character has anything you need. Good pressure, good out of shield options, gimmicks, cheese, a spike, pretty hard to edgeguard recovery, good normals, safe normals. So this character can do it all. Not necessarily the best, but they can do it all. And with a pilot, like the best player in the world, Leo, you can really do it all. Byleth has like everything you need, but like just not like anything that you want, I guess. So Byleth is like, he's definitely, obviously, I can't not put him in solo viable when Leo's literally solo viable and like solo maining this character and winning majors. He's only gone Joker against me and Min players, because that matchup is really, really bad. The character establishes so much pressure. The Nair pressure is insane. I'm actually gonna make a like more specific video about Byleth and Leo, which you can look out for. But like overall, this character is just good enough. Really good spike, shield breaks, which again are like the cheese. So this character, you constantly have to be on your toes about like literally everything because your shield might pop. You might take a nair into grab forward air, which is 30 plus edge trapping. And if you get the reads and you're just consistent enough as a player, you can be consistent with this character because he doesn't have really any pitfalls besides the fact that he's slow, which is really going to only matter in like 3 matchups, which is like Pika, can't deal with T-Jolt, Min because you can't get in, and like maybe like Samus or something like that. But like most characters you can deal with Byleth because if you fight, you can fight. And if you need to play mid-range, you can play mid-range. And those are like most of the characters in the game. Like he beat fucking T, 3-1 T with Byleth, crazy. Byleth's definitely good enough to be solo main. I still don't think top tier or like super broken, but like good enough clearly. Speaking of characters that are good enough, Wii Fit Trainer. I think Wii Fit is scary. Deep breathing, really good normals, good killing, ledge camping, which is something that most characters don't have, annoying zoning, the ability to heal. But Wii Fit's honestly really good in my opinion. I think Wii Fit struggles with a couple characters pretty bad, like Pika specifically, maybe better zoning characters, maybe better rushdown characters. But I think Wii Fit is a very, very good character. I think Wii Fit is overall strong as hell. The fact that like deep breathing is just limit on drugs, the fact that you can just do it at any time, it's kind of ridiculous. So yeah, the character's really good. It may be better than Byleth, maybe not, but like good, like very good. Bowser. I think this is a slight demotion in terms of like numbers for my last tier list with Bowser. I think Bowser's obviously super good. Leon is incredible with this character. And then there's Hero from Japan, who's really good with this character. I think the character loses several matchups, but at the same time, it's a character that's like, oh, did you get the reads or did you get the momentum? You can win. And Leon and Hero are both really good at that. Has some really good normals and forward tilt for 2 framing. Fair's amazing. You have side beat, you have flame breath. You have a lot of tools to annoy people, to get a ton of damage, to frustrate people. You have the ability to Bowser side, you have the ability to edge guard. You have so much with this character. But also the juggling is really bad. But if you mess up once and you get down and you're downbeat and your shield breaks and you die, you know? So Bowser's definitely up there. He's a good character, but I definitely think he struggles a little more than people give him credit for. But at the same time, Leon beat Wrath. So, yeah. More demotion. Inkling. I think this character is low-key better than this. But at the same time, nothing's happening. This is a character, like a lot of characters that I thought were bad are getting results, like Mewtwo, and Duck Hunt, and Jigglypuff, and Falco, and like Byleth, of course, are getting results. And then Inkling is not. Granted, that's because some people dropped the character, the Cosmos. But also, there's no Inkling coming up in their stead. I know we have Space in Europe, who's very good, but I don't know if Space qualified for Smash World Tour Finals. I don't know what other Inklings are doing anything. This character is literally mid-range the character, but there are so many characters that do mid-range better. Is Inkling annoying? Yes. Does Inkling have up throw up air, so certain matchups are just really, really good for them? Absolutely. But overall, in a matchup, in a game where you really need to kill, that you really, really need to kill, not being able to kill is really bad. If you don't get the roller, if you don't get the up throw up air, then like you're screwed with this character. I think Inkling just like doesn't have anything to force people to approach besides the fact that it's short, and I don't think Inkling really has anything that's good enough to compete super top level. I think Inkling's still a good character, really annoying to hit, good jab, good damage output, great combos, good neutral, but I think like it's just not enough compared to a lot of other characters. Like nothing cheap enough besides their movement.
So Inkling got buffed. The main buff, in my opinion, being the Splatter Shot buff, the neutral B. I don't know why it's so much bigger. Splatter Shot was already one of Inkling's best moves, and I guess they're trying to make their playstyle more similar to Splatoon, where they actually just shoot people instead of just only fighting them. I think it's a very interesting buff because it allows Inkling to have long-range combat plus Ink, which is of course very good for them, as well as of course they're really good close combat with jab and back air and down tilt and all that stuff, as well as up tilt got buffed. I know forward tilt I'm pretty sure got buffed, but I don't think that one's as influential. But the up tilt buff, assuming it works actually well, I'm not 100% sure yet because I haven't really seen people use up tilt. I've used Inkling a couple games since then, and it does seem that it actually hits grounded people, which is nice because it's a fast in front of you move that isn't as committal as, let's say, a jab, and it starts people, puts them on platforms, which is Tech Chase City, with roller and stuff like that. So I think this buff can be pretty good. I don't think this puts them out of this tier. Like, I don't think it bumps them out of solo viable into super viable, but it is definitely a nice quality of life change for the character. So yeah, I'm about it.
Next up, I'm gonna put Ryu. Slight demotion from last time. I don't think Ryu is the best or second best fighting game character anymore. I've seen Riddles play Terry, and that character's ridiculous. But yeah, Ryu is still really good. I think he's better than Ken. He's more consistent. Tatsu's really good, better fireball, so he's better at camping. In my opinion, it's like better getting off the ledge because of Red Fireball. I think Red Fireball is just really important, and of course, consistent Shoryu, consistent Tatsu, those things are very, very important. Of course, is SDI important versus Ryu? Absolutely. But I just don't think it's as influential as Ken's. And it's still really good. Again, very, very good stuff. But yeah.
I don't know why they buffed this character. Ryu didn't deserve buffs, and the buffs that he got were very influential. The damage on all of his fireballs being better means that it beats out projectiles, and it also combos better into his collarbone breaker, his hold forward tilt, which is his shield breaker, which also got buffed and is now faster. So now this character has true shield break combos that are pretty easy and pretty consistent if you shield from certain distances. Don't know why they buffed this character. Tatsu also has less lag, so it's harder to punish on hit at low percents, which is something that I feel like was very important against the character. And now you can't do that anymore. It's harder to punish it in general. I don't know why they buffed this character, and for some reason they didn't buff Ken's fireball, which is objectively significantly worse than his. I don't get it. I'm not a fan. These are really scary. Again, I don't know if it puts him into super viable, but it definitely helps a lot. It would probably bump him 5 or 7 spots up in this list. Yeah, it's really scary, and I don't... Ryu's scary, and I don't like the buffs.
Next up, I think, is Mega Man. So listen, I think Mega Man is still a good character. But again, I think this character just has to put in too much work in a game where characters can accidentally win. You constantly have to be playing really good neutral. You constantly have to be doing all these things. If you mess up a pellet thing, your disadvantage is really bad. He's really easy to combo, really easy to edge guard. But has some really good stuff, of course. His pellets are amazing, forward air, back air, Z-drop out of shield stuff. But I just think this character is like slowly lessening in viability. I think more characters outzone. Like, I think characters outzone Mega Man, I think characters out rushdown Mega Man, I think characters out damage, and out annoying Mega Man, for sure. Still a good character, really, really good character, don't get me wrong, but I just think he's not as good as he used to be. And also, like, you know that's true when, like, Kamame drops the character. Kamame was a Mega Man believer so long, and he's like, I'd rather not. Let's go Hero. Hero might be in the super viable tier, I'm not 100% sure. But I think Hero has some really good stuff. I think if you play him normally and just fish for buffs as opposed to like the crazy like kaboom and stuff like that, he's still a very good character. Extra shield damage, extra killing. This character kills even without the buffs. Has a pretty good recovery, hard to mess with. Of course, you get zoom really easily. Yeah, Aka from Japan is like insane. So just really, really good in those regards. And then of course you do get the big spells like Thwack, Magic Burst if you need it, Kaboom, stuff like that. You have crit, you have just really like good shield damage, you have invincible moves, so it's really, really important for Hero to like still be able to like read quickly. You don't need the big spells, you just need things like Oomph and Psycho. Having the access of B-Reverse Giant Fireball is really good for landing and also kills me really early, so he has cheese, and he's consistent, and he has like good combos. He has good normals. I think his worst normal is like up smash or something like that. He can beat zoners because of bounce. He can beat rushdown characters because of just like get off me with up B. He's good at keeping advantage, and he's just good. I think Hero's like a good character. Link. I think Link's a very good character. I think he's very consistent. I think he has really good out of shield options, really good pressure, good projectiles, great killing. But the problem is I don't think he's quite cheesy enough compared to a lot of characters. I don't think he's something that's that ridiculous, considering his infinite is unrealistic. You can DI all of his bomb stuff down. Well, not all of it, but like some of the stuff. The biggest problem with Link is his disadvantage isn't super good. If you start parrying Nair, it becomes like really problematic in order to like do anything. And his recovery if bomb is on stage is really bad. So again, you have to pick whether to use bomb offensively or defensively. And if you want to use it offensively for his best attributes, then you're gonna die really early, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, I think Link's a really solid character. Again, all these characters are really solid. Violet is winning majors every fucking weekend. So like, these are all good characters, right? But he's just like a little too slow to really pressure with his stuff. But if you force the opponent to approach you, Link is gonna be super good. You know?
For Link, I want to see how much these buffs play out, because I have seen the fact that like you can hit people's ledge hang with down tilt, and now it combos into up B or forward air or aerial up B way easier. I do think it's going to help Link get kill confirms in situations where he wasn't getting them before. I think it's going to help him get 50-50s with like down tilt up air and stuff like that as well. So pretty good for Link. Again, don't know if that's going to bump him out of the tier, because again, like in my opinion, he could be a super viable character in general if people just consistently hit the like 30 to deaths and the 50 to deaths with like the back air loops and the nair loops and the bomb stuff, like all that stuff. Link is already a really broken character. He's just not like actually that good because no one's doing that, and it's not even like a theory thing, because the theories existed for a long time and still no one's doing it. Even T just plays neutral with this character, and that's the best Link, right? So I definitely think this helps, and it could be better for him, but the links aren't really doing enough to make me think this character is super viable.
Next up is Falcon. So I think Falcon is broken, and I've said Falcon is broken for a long time. Then I talked to Fatality, and you know what? I don't know better than the main of the character. He puts Falcon in high tier, which again, I'm not doing high top tier, whatever. But he says that Falcon loses a bit too many matchups to be considered top tier. Falcon has some really good stuff, of course. His up smash is ridiculous, his combo game is ridiculous, his combo routes with instant double jump are crazy. The character has so much good stuff, but loses to a lot of meta-relevant characters like Game & Watch, like Pika, like Palu, like Mario, like really, like Roy, like a lot of common characters this character struggles with. And if the best player of the character is like struggling sometimes just with bad matchups, then like, yeah, maybe I agree. But again, I think Falcon's really good. Like, Fatality was doing really well. I mean, his worst placement now is 33rd, I think. It's like still pretty good. Sheik. So people are suddenly putting Sheik in top 20, and I don't really agree with that character being that good. But Sheik is obviously a really big tournament threat. She has really safe frame data. She can play really lame with needles and just beat her speed. Bouncing fish is great. She has good edge guarding. But the problem is, again, I think that in high pressure situations, Sheik is really difficult because if you trade, like if it's a character that just wants to swing at you, it's really hard for Sheik to deal with that besides just constantly playing better. And of course you can constantly play better, but sometimes you're playing constantly better for a forward air, which isn't exactly enough. But yeah, I think this character, I mean, she does a lot of damage. She has ways to kill, like plenty of ways to kill. She's really good at edge guarding. She's really tricky. But I just think that overall, thank you Selden Arcades for the tier 1. I think overall she's just not quite good enough to be super viable, but she's absolutely solo viable. I think she loses to like several characters. Like Pac-Man's really bad. I think Pika's really bad. Ice Climbers apparently is really bad. I know Big D beat Void at main stage, but like, yeah, I think she is just good, like really, really good, but not like broken good. A character I forgot about that's actually going to be lower than Sheik by 1 is going to be Greninja. I still don't know why Europe thinks this character's top 15. I think Greninja is definitely solo viable. He's good. He has good normals, he has good mobility, he has a decent projectile, he has a counter, he has tricky stuff, but I really think that Greninja just overall isn't as good as Europe thinks he is. But still a very good character. Great killing, drag downs out the ass, a lot of tricky setups, but I think the character is just a little bit too linear to be super, super good, because I feel like Greninja struggles to play mid-range a lot unless you're just going to be like walking around and waiting for dash attack, but it's not like threatening enough to really let you play the mid-range in an effective way. And now for the 2 characters that I have probably been the most wrong about, 2 of the 3. Cloud. Cloud's good. Cloud's a good character. Once I lost to Spargo, I was just like, you know, I lost a character I shit on all the time. I still think Cloud has a bunch of flaws, don't get me wrong. I still think a lot of what I said about Cloud is right. But the ability for him to be consistent is really important. Cloud opens up the game and simplifies it in a way that is a lot of times in his favor. With back air, with forward air, with forward tilt, with limit. So he kind of forces you to approach in really awkward ways, but then can back air and then read jumps or read ground movement. Of course, he has cross slash, which does a ton of damage. So it's really difficult to consistently do the right thing versus Cloud. Of course, does he have bad matchups? Absolutely. I think that Cloud loses a ton of matchups. I think he loses to a bunch of rushdown characters. I think he loses to some characters that can really abuse his offstage, even characters that are below him on the list, like Sheik, like Pika. I know I lost, shut up, it's fine. I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna do better. I think he loses to like Palu and maybe the Shotos, I'm not sure. But like he has a good advantage state with up air, of course, like up air nair. Like of course, since fast fall air dodge is a really popular option nowadays, he's really good at covering that with dash attack and up smash, which is what Spargo did to me a lot. So he forces you into uncomfortable 50-50s and then can like do really well off of them. Of course, same thing, right? Like against him, you can definitely against him keep him in disadvantage because he really only has like back air and like you can tell where he's gonna be if he drifts. And like Downer's not super good in disadvantage anymore, but like he has good out of shield options. He just is good at dealing with pressure. He's good at neutral. He's good at advantage. So basically, he only struggles a little bit in disadvantage. So the top tiers can kind of mess with him. But he's definitely really good, and he just is a zoner check. I think he beats like every zoner in the game. Next up is Luigi. I think Luigi is solo viable. In theory, he's inconsistent. In theory, you edgeguard him. In theory, all these things. But you can't be a top 10 player playing a really, really bad character. That doesn't happen. Elegant is honestly just as consistent as most of the top players. He's a little bit less consistent than Tweak. And that's about it. He loses a ton of matchups, unfortunately. Like, he loses to basically every zoner. Especially like the hardcore zoners, like Mewtwo, Min Min, Samus, Pac-Man. I think those matchups are atrocious. But because Ultimate is Ultimate, if he gets the hit, he might kill you. If he gets in, he might kill you. And you can't just rely on yourself playing perfectly unless you are Leo and Spargo, to the point where you can just consistently say that that matters. So yeah, I think Luigi's really good. He has the ability to zero death you. He has the ability to add a shield to you with up B. He has really strong kill potential. He has really good jumps, so he can juggle actually pretty well, like surprisingly well. Of course, he has down B, which is an obnoxious move to deal with, not just because it's frame 1 invincible, but also because of the win box, mostly because of the win box. And I think people can do better against his recovery, absolutely, but it's better than I used to give it credit for. Like, his double jump is so good to the point where you can just go so low, and it's hard. Next up, Braum. I think that he's still really good, of course. Really consistent killing, good combos, really scary. But I feel like the players that play Chrom opt to play other characters, whether it's Rivers on Diddy, whether it's TK3 on Roy. I just don't really see people playing Chrom as much. I think he's still really good at shield options, ton of damage, really fast, difficult to deal with for a lot of characters. But he's not overwhelmingly strong to the point where his negatives are negligible like a couple other characters in like the super viable tier. This is recovery, his disadvantage isn't that great. But yeah, I just think he's just a worse overall version of Roy. He's still really good and worth it to play, absolutely, but just not as worth it as Roy. Next up is Kazuya. Where is he? I think Kazuya overall is very, very good, clearly, but I do think because of his lack of good jumps, I think he struggles a little bit more than I thought he was going to originally. I think Kazuya is crazy, don't get me wrong. He's literally insane. But I do think that people, one, are bad at the matchup. Two, he's really, really, really hard. And in a tournament, being really, really, really hard isn't a good thing. You don't want a character to constantly drain your mental, right? Like, the ability that he just loses on stages like Battlefield and Yoshi's and maybe Small Battlefield, like, is rough. At the same time, he does a ton of damage, and he kills mad early. He does stupid amounts of damage. If you get hit by side B at 40, you're dead. He doesn't necessarily struggle versus projectile zoners because he has the reflect in forward A, but if it's a character that walls you, he can struggle. Characters like Steve, characters like Min Min, characters like Rob, Game & Watch, Pika, sword characters, he struggles a lot with them. He needs to perfectly be command dashing into them, which is really, really difficult. It's really difficult. Can he do it? Absolutely. Is it consistently likely? No. I do think there are some very good Kazuyas, of course. You have XL, you have Burr. I don't think Riddles is going to play Kazuya a lot anymore because he really just vibes more with Terry. But I think Kazuya is just really, really difficult, and you're just fishing for your openings, which isn't a best way to play, exactly. Like, I think Kazuya is really good. I just don't think he's, like, as good as the rest of the characters. Next up is Ike. Actually, Ike is low-key lower than Cloud, but it's still talking about Ike. I think Ike is still really good. He has good neutral, safe moves, great kill confirms, great 2 frames with Eruption. His down tilt's really good. He has a ton of good stuff. But again, he's one of the characters that's just like, if you can cheese him, he's very susceptible to cheese. If you can hit him, his disadvantage isn't that good. He doesn't really have anything that's like super broken, except for like Nair up B off stage. Like, up B in general is really good. Like, Nair up B is really good. You have Nair up air, back air, down tilt back air, down tilt up air, stuff like that. So Ike is a very good character in my opinion. I think he's like really high on this end. But at the same time, some characters are just dumber than him. Like, it's not like he's bad, it's just he's not as good as some of the other characters. He can struggle with some zoners, he can struggle with a lot of things. Just minorly struggle, but he struggles. And consistently fighting that uphill battle is difficult, you know?
And this is going to be the last little entrance of mine, and we're going to be talking about Ike. His side B being stronger when it's moving and jab being stronger definitely, again, do help. It's not super easy to ledge trap as Ike because you have to time his slow forward tilt on things like neutral get-ups, whereas jab is going to kill now at the ledge. You can do parry jab on, safer things because jab is clearly faster than forward tilt. Side B is just kind of like a quality of life thing. It didn't really do that much damage or knockback before, unless you were at really, really high percents. So this is just a nice quality of life change. It makes it harder and scarier to challenge side B, which it already was in my opinion, at least just because you're probably going to get hit because it's hella unreactable when they let go of it. So the side B buff doesn't really matter that much, but the jab one I think does, because it just makes it easier to kill at the ledge and makes it easier to just clean out stocks with faster moves, because, you know, outside of, you know, down tilt comboing into back air or up air, like after those percents, you kind of have to get a raw back air, forward air, dash attack, forward tilt, something like that. And he has all of those moves to do that, but jab being his fastest ground normal means that he can get parry, turn around jab faster, parry jab faster, just add a shield jab on things that are like somewhat safe against him. Although I guess he has up B as an add a shield option, so drop shield jab isn't really going to be a thing, mostly on parry, but it helps. It definitely helps. I would still keep him in the solo viable tier, not in the super viable tier, but it helps. It's going to be like a nice buff for him in general.
Next up is Mii Brawler. I think Mii Brawler is a really, really good character. I think he is super strong. I think if you can mix your movesets with this character in tournament, he becomes absolutely terrifying, because you have Town for Heli Kick, you can get mad early kills. You have Thrupper on stages and characters that down throw Thrupper works really well on. If you can camp versus have the command grab versus have Burning Dropkick, there's so much that this character can change to. He has great normals. The only issue with this character is he is not fast, but his normals are amazing. He's some of the best normals in the game. He has great combos that are damaging as hell, even if you don't end them in Thrupper. I really just am so scared of this character overall. He has so much potential. His combos are still being optimized now. He has really strong cheese in terms of like Nair Heli Kick or down throw Thrupper or like upper Thrupper and stuff like that. He has great landing aerials. His empty jump's really good because he's a fast faller. He has a command grab, which is really good if you want to use the command grab. He can have a good recovery if you want to use the recovery sets. He's good in disadvantage because he has flip jump, which everyone uses. But like, yeah, I think Mii Brawler's really good. Absolutely. There's one character I can take out of this. I think the highest solo viable but not super viable character is Ness. I think Ness is an incredible character. He has so many good things about him. He's great on platforms, he's great on flat stages, he has good out of shield options, ridiculous killing, really good hitboxes. Magnet's a pain in the ass to deal with. He can heal, his disadvantage is pretty good. His advantage is ridiculous. Peak of Thunder is amazing. He has great ledge trapping in 2 frames. But the problem is, sometimes this character struggles to get in. If you play a good mid-range character, if you play a good offstage character, it can make you struggle. Currently, in North America, there are not any Ness players that are doing super well consistently. I would say Gact is probably the best Ness overall. I think Gact is amazing, and he's doing really well in Japan, but he's not like top 8ing with any like regularity, I don't think. I could be wrong. But I think Ness is just very overall slightly worse than the super viable characters. He has cheese, don't get me wrong, because Peak of Thunder's there, back air's there, his combos are ridiculous. Magnet, like double hit Magnet into down air is a thing, which is so stupid. He's like really explosive, but I think if you just play the patient mid-range, he can struggle a little bit with certain characters. Obviously, beats Pika, unfortunately. But I think overall, it's just really, really difficult to say he's not good. I think his off stage is better than people think it is, because it's really risky to edgeguard him, because you get hit by like the tail of Peak of Thunder, and then it combos into the big one, and heavy characters will untackle at like 62, shit like that. So that's gonna be it for the solo viable tier. Let's go to the super viable tier. Lowest one's Diddy Kong. Obviously, Tweak has been doing work with this character. Diddy has been really, really up in the meta recently. In terms of people playing him. I do think that people still have a lack of understanding of really how to play against Diddy Kong, because no one had to worry about it until 5 months ago. I think overall Diddy Kong is just really strong. He has really good defensive play, good damage, hard to mess with recovery, but if you do mess with it, he dies, unfortunately. He's consistent. He just consistently gets, like, you have Z-drop out of shield, good normals. The only problem with Diddy is if you keep Banana away from him, he becomes a mediocre close quarter combat character, because like his down tilt's good, but it's not like crazy. I definitely think he's more anti-meta than meta, because he still loses to like random characters or struggles with random characters, but he does beat characters like Zero Suit and Pyramithra and Palu and stuff like that. So like he's definitely a good pick. I don't think any of his losses are like terribly bad. I think Pac-Man is probably his worst, and then I don't know how Tweak brought T to Game 5, that was ridiculous. I do think he struggles a bit more matchups than people think he does, but I do think Diddy, he's just consistent, he's really, really good. He has a good disadvantage because he has Monkey Flip that refreshes when he gets hit. He has Banana, he has like really crazy reversals, and like a lot of the characters he loses the worst to except for like Pac-Man, aren't relevant. Like, who cares about Villager or Isabelle? Like, oh. But either way, you can just play better than them. Like, you don't need Banana in some matchups. Like, Diddy can just beat people. Next up is gonna be Terry. I think that Terry is really good. Watching Riddles is incredible. Obviously, fighting characters are all up and down, because if they get characters like Samus or like Min Min, they can struggle. But also, not even Min Min, because fucking Riddles beat the Buzz. Like, got bodied by Icy Mist. Like, I think Terry has some bad matchups. But again, Go. But again, his comeback factor is outside of Go. He does so much damage. He'll really early. He's fast. He's pretty fast. He can have platform movements. He has platform extensions. He has good grabs. Has a decent projectile. He has good ledge trapping. He has like scary, really early kills without Go, with like down air on stage into like Nair side B off stage. He has consistent damage. He has so much good everything, right? Like this character doesn't really struggle with anything except for hardcore projectile zoning. I think the character struggles with characters like Steve and Snake and Samus and maybe Rob, probably Game & Watch, and maybe a couple characters below them. But like overall, Terry's a very good character. I think Riddles has great success with this character, and now that Riddles is basically solo maining Terry again, maybe like Terry and like the Belmonts for the other zoners. Like, I think this character is really, really, really good. Next up is Sonic. Sonic's annoying. He's really good. I think the ability for Sonic to show how the game is going to play from the character select screen is huge. He's huge in the mentality factor. He's huge in early kills with things like back air and forward smash. He does a lot of damage. His advantage is pretty good. Spring is really annoying to deal with for a lot of characters in terms of disadvantage. Homing attack is still good. Like, there are ways to deal with it if it hits your shield, but if they like charge it, it does so much shield damage. It's really annoying to deal with. Good recovery. Has basically everything you would want except for like really spammable hitboxes that aren't spin dash. Basically. So yeah, I think Sonic's really good. I ignored it for a long time. I think Sonic's too good. I still think he loses a couple matchups, and like some matchups are like really hard in my opinion, like Samus. Steve probably does well. I think, well, I would say Snake does well, but Sonic's has been destroying. Sonic destroyed MVD as far as I'm aware in Vegas. I still think Pika wins. Young Link probably wins. Zero Suit might win. Like, there's a couple of characters the character loses to. But at the same time, it's like, cool, I'm losing until I get a stock lead, and then I'm gonna run away for 2.5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So, I think Sonic's really good. Continuing on, I think the next character is Sephiroth. Sephiroth, honestly, he's still questionable. He might be more down here than up here. I think Sephiroth is incredible. Obviously, One Wing is super good. The comeback factor is great. He has pretty decent combos. Landing Nair is still a good tool. Forward air, back air, up B, like they're all very good moves. Side B is a good move. I just think Sephiroth you have to be really precise with, like surprisingly precise with, in order to be good. He's hard to play in tournament. He struggles with some rushdown, he struggles with some zoners, but he can do it against anyone is the thing. So he's definitely either solo viable, like the top of solo viable, or super viable. I'm not exactly sure which one, but I think he's still a really strong character. I think that he has a lot of what you want in a character. He's fast, he has a decent projectile, he has good edge trapping, has forward air and back air and stuff. Like, Ned's probably the strongest Sephiroth player, and he's honestly been having really hard brackets. I think he can do it. I definitely think Sephiroth can do it. It's just, again, you have to have the super top player playing the character, which is hard to do. Next up is Sora, right next to each other. I think Sora's really, really good. He has room to go up, of course. I think, if anything, he has room to go up unless they nerf him for some reason. But I think Sora's ridiculous. I think this character is really hard to add a shield. His aerials are all really good. He has consistent damage. He has consistent killing, good kill throw, good edge guarding, hard to edge guard for the large majority of the cast, even though like some characters can, if you just like understand how to deal with side B. You can kind of be annoying with him in a lot of aspects. It's really hard to hit him in disadvantage because of the threat of down air, and then he has things like thunder and fire. Like, his projectiles are all really, well, thunder's okay, but fire and ice are both really good, and he's just really, he's hard to deal with. Of course, then he has a sword, so he can mid-range characters to hell, and then he has things like back air, forward smash, down smash, stuff like that. So I think he definitely does struggle with some characters, like Pika, like Min Min, like Ox maybe. I'm not sure. So like, this is, it can be hard to deal with Sora, honestly. He's like perfectly floaty and perfectly like annoying and bounces on shield, and the Nair loops are a thing. He does a ton of damage even without the Nair loops. He has just like consistent damage. He just kind of constantly just does what he wants. And it works against a lot of characters. So I think he's absolutely super viable. I think Sora's a really good character. Next up is Olimar. I think in theory, Olimar isn't this good. I think Olimar has a lot of flaws. But in tournament, he's so fucking good. I think in tournament, in practice, Olimar is so good. He has great out of shield options. He has whistle. He's constantly annoying you. You have to constantly be like approaching him. His Pikmin are really annoying to deal with. The fact that they latch onto different areas and you have to do different moves to hit them off, and that can sometimes be like you have to turn around and then he runs up and hits you for it. I think the combination of Shuton, Buzz, and Myron, like they all play very different, and they're all very good. So I think overall, just Olimar's a scary character. Like, Double Purple Olimar is one of the best characters in the game, and you kind of have to kill Pikmin in order to play the game, because otherwise you're just gonna have Pikmin on you all the time, and it's really annoying. He has a hard to deal with recovery. His up B can be really annoying. He has really good juggle situations. His advantage hit's really good. His ledge trapping is really scary because of range of forward smash. So like, this character has it all, except for sometimes he gets rushed down, and he also struggles to like land sometimes and also get off the ledge. Like, edge trapping this character is what you need to do, but if he has purples, he just goes ledge hop purple, and you're like, can't really do much, because like ledge hop purple Nair is like super hard to deal with. The fixing of the glitches with Olimar really helped too, like the fact that he can like pull Pikmin a little bit more easier. So yeah. Next up is gonna be Young Link. I think Young Link is definitely super viable. I think this character is really, really good, really fast, has good confirms, projectiles, good out of shield options. The weakest part about him is his recovery, but I think most people won't edgeguard him, unfortunately. Like I do, but most people won't. So like, his biggest flaw is kind of not really exploited very hard. But like, the character's positives are amazing. Nair is such a good move. Back air is such a good move. Arrow, boomerang, down tilt. That's ridiculous. Jab 2 is minus like 8 or something. Like, this character is really, really scary and can do a lot of good work. Good killing too, and has forward thrown stuff to kill, which is crazy. Yeah, I think this character overall is very, very strong. Really no flaws. Like, lack of range, so sometimes he loses to the other sword characters, but then he has projectiles to kind of bash his way in there, which is really, really good for him. Next up is Yoshi. I think Yoshi's good. I think Yoshi's really good. I think Miles has been doing a lot better in North America. I think Meme is still really good. He hasn't been able to travel to the States. I think Yoshidora has been doing absolutely fantastic in Japan. He's been doing so well and so consistent with Yoshi. I think this character, of course, frame 1 double jump, which is really good. Kills out the ass, back air, forward air. Like, his only problem is sometimes he gets zoned out sometimes, like in mid-range, but at the same time, his airspeed is high enough that you don't really have to worry about that for the most part. You can kind of just hit characters as Yoshi, like, pretty consistently. His damage output's really good. He has a command grab in terms of egg. He's hard to edgeguard. He's hard to combo. Whereas he can combo you, and then he has things like down air, which is just like an oops 30% or oops kill. His edge guarding is really good because you can go off stage and then double jump armors through someone's recovery and like nair them or back air them or something like that, which is just in general really good and hard to deal with. I think Yoshi is very, very strong, and I'm very happy that Yoshidora has actually been able to go defense recently, because he was one of the strongest online players in Smash 4 and at the beginning of Ultimate, and now he's going, and it's just like, yes, he's so good. Next up, weird pick, Lucina. And I always thought Lucina was a little bit overrated by people. I still think she's really good. She's clearly super viable. She has nothing wrong with her. Lucina has nothing wrong with her. She has some cheese. She does a ton of damage. Her back air and her edge guarding is in general. It's really good spacing. She's hard to deal with. She's not slow. Her airspeed's kind of okay. She struggles to get out of disadvantage, like in the air and like off ledge sometimes, and that's going to be her biggest flaw. But it's not as bad as many other characters in the game. So like, it's a bad flaw relative to the top, the top characters, but it's still a good. Like, they're still good versions of them. The problem I feel like with Ina is she doesn't really force people to approach, and she also isn't super good at holding a lead like some other characters, and she has nothing like really degenerate. She's just really solid. She's one of the best just solid characters in the game. Like, not a lot of flaws, but also not a lot of broken things like some of the other characters in the top tier. Speaking of broken things with top tiers, Samus. Samus is a super viable character. Yes, I thought this or Icy Mist beat me. Before Icy Mist's run in SmashCon, I put Samus in top tier in my last tier list. She's broken. Charge Shot is one of the single best moves in the game. It forces people to approach, it deals 30, it's a combo move, and it just forces the opponent to play a specific way. Her normals are all really good. She has a good down tilt, good up tilt, good forward tilt, good out of shield option in terms of up B, which is frame 4. She has good aerials in terms of nair, back air, up air, forward air. Like, they're all good. Like, down air's probably her worst one, but it's still like -7 on shield, and it combos Charge Shot into back air. Charge Shot combos into literally everything. Her flaw is the fact that she's floaty and can be difficult to land on characters that have disjointed up airs, like Lucina, like Pyramithra, stuff like that, because it's really hard for her to land. She doesn't have good hitboxes below her in like disadvantage. She doesn't have a good way to like, she doesn't have like fast fall air dodge. She's floaty. But like Bomb is still good. She has the best ledge trapping in the game. Like #1 ledge trapping in the game. No questions asked. Bomb is broken on the ledge. And it's really difficult for quite literally everyone to deal with. So yeah, I think that's amazing about her. She loses matchups, but again, she's so explosive because you have charge shot, grab back air. Like she does damage out the ass. She suddenly just kills you. She's such a good character. Like ridiculous. Next up, Zero Suit Samus. I think they're about next to each other. They're actually really close. I might put Samus above Zero Suit Samus realistically. Zero Suit's still a really good character. She's incredibly fast. She is one of the hardest characters to pin down in the game. Flip jump's amazing. She has great whiff punishing, and when she has momentum, this character is scary. However, there are a lot of characters that don't let her get the momentum, or that have the momentum against her the entire time. She really loses to a lot of characters. She loses to Roy and Crom, Pika, Pokemon Trainer, Fox, Joker, just so many characters, so many characters this character loses to. The fact that the moves are inconsistent sometimes, like forward air, up smash, up B, isn't fun, and missing those type of things can cost you a game, which sucks. But she's still really fast. I think, again, if Zero Suit commits to timing out her opponent, she's an incredible character, like maybe still top 10, but that's unrealistic because none of the Zero Suits camp that hard, so it's hard for me to say that. But I do think that overall Zero Suit is still a really good character. Hashtag Z says sucks though. Like she's still really good. I mean, that's, you know, 20-ish, but like top 20 is good, but again, it's better than it's worse, way worse than the top 5 that she was, you know? Speaking of characters that suck, the big boy, Rob. I think Rob is really good. Of course, his advantage and his combos are ridiculous. He kills you. He's like one of the biggest cheater characters in Ultimate, for sure. Good ledge trapping, great downer, good edge guarding, good pressure, good neutral with down tilt and gyro and nair. But the problem is his disadvantage isn't super good. You can easily parry a lot of his landing aerials. If you're really just committing to like standing there and parrying it and just waiting and not being like, you know, you have to not waver in that, which is difficult. But Rob, of course, really good character. Zachary plays the character. Plenty of Robs have been doing really well, like Zomba, Bill, and there's been like Grayson. But this character is just really good. Like overall, very strong. There's a couple of good EU Robs as well, like Lucretio and like 8-Bit Man. Like good character, just has some flaws that mean they're not like broken, but like still clearly kind of broken. Oh yeah, and Waddy. I forgot about Waddy. It was like I know I'm missing an obvious one. Next up, oh god, it's getting to the hard area where everyone's broken. I'm gonna put Shulk. I think this is a bit of a demotion from my other placements. This is like 17, something like that, whereas I normally put him at like 6. I think Shulk's really good. I think he has an incredible matchup spread. I just think, again, he's really hard to play consistently. Even though people like Kome are doing well, because he got like top 8 or top 4 at last Hockey TV. Like, he has results, clearly, but he's just really hard, and I feel like some other characters are more overwhelming and easier and have better results, basically. But I think Shulk's an incredible character. I mean, combos don't work on him. He has a good recovery. He has really good edge guarding. He has really scary pressure. The problem is, of course, his frame data is just like slightly not good enough to compete with a lot of characters at the top level. You constantly have to be outplaying your opponent, which is possible. Again, these are all broken characters, but it's just difficult. It's just really difficult to consistently play super well as Shulk, and the only person doing it is Kome, which is impressive, and it's not a shot at him. It's just I think other characters are better. Speaking of characters that are better, this one's a theory pick because we haven't seen it yet. This is Steve. I think Steve's fucked up. I think Steve's really stupidly good. Absolutely ridiculous. I think he shuts down so many characters in this game just by building walls. I think his combos are ridiculous. He hits you and kills you. He edge guards you. Has so many setups. He has literally everything you need in the character. He's not super fast, and he does lose to certain rushdown characters and also characters with a lot of range, like Cloud and Sephiroth. But like Cloud, Sephiroth, and Aegis are his 3 worst matchups, maybe Pika. And then, but like even in those matchups, he can still hit you and kill you. He can edge guard you. He can set up things. He can 2-frame you with down tilt and down smash. He can do literally everything. Only negative to Steve is the fact that a top player isn't piloting them and maining them. That's literally it, because this character is up. Didi is incredible. Yanni's really good. Honor's really good. You have AK Fires. You have D-Dog. You have so many Steve players in America that are doing really well. I don't know of any Europeans, but I think this character is like low-key top 10. It just hasn't happened yet for me to want to put them in top 10, essentially. They're terrifying. Really good burst options. Not a great disadvantage, but again, you have to be ready for down air, you have to be ready for minecart, you have to be ready for all those obvious things, but like at the same time, you can just like forward smash you, and he can just play normal. You don't need the 0 to deaths, but also you can't get the 0 to deaths, which is good. Like, characters, crazy, insane.
So Steve actually got slightly nerfed where his up smash multi-hits don't have as much hit lag or hit stun, which basically just removes some versions of the repeater combo and the eventually discovered repeater infinite, where you could actually really frame perfectly do an up smash that would break the block, and then you could basically make a block next to it and then keep only up smashing and not using the up tilt that is used in the repeater. Repeaters are still there, they're just a lot harder, but honestly this isn't that much of a nerf because, I mean, technically it is a nerf because the combo routes were going to optimize to a really scary place, but they didn't really get there yet, so I'm not really considering this a nerf, more like a nerf for the future. So this doesn't really change where Steve is. Steve, I think, is absolutely still a ridiculous character that in my opinion is honestly probably better after a few weeks since recording my tier list, but that's probably better than where he is anyway.
Next up, I'm gonna put Snake. I think Snake is a really good character, but again, he's one of the characters that's hard to play in tournament, and he does have a couple of unfortunate matchups. I think he struggles with Mega Man, Inkling, and Zero Suit, and Fox, and Joker, can struggle with Steve, and struggles with Game & Watch, and so like even though he wins a lot of matchups, it's still really difficult. But I think that Snake is just overall a very, very strong character. Has a ton of traps, really fast camping, does a ton of damage, relies on people swinging into him a little bit, but at the same time with the Z-drop grenade stuff, and like he has really good ledge trapping, he just has so much good stuff, so it's hard to constantly play back. The characters that can are very good against him. I think Samus does really well, I think Ness does really well. As I mentioned, Zero Suit, I think Young Link beats him probably. So like not like bad, like I don't think those matchups are unwinnable. Yeah, like Snake is just, it's really good, but I just think is really hard to play, and suddenly you can just kind of get hit and die. How many characters left? 14. Next up is Fox. I think Fox is broken. I've always thought Fox is broken. He basically forces guesses onto you, and if you guess wrong, you take 60 sometimes. The reason he's not higher is because he does have some pretty bad matchups. I think like Luigi's really bad. I think Pika is really bad. I think Game & Watch is really bad. And while those are doable a lot of the times, it's really difficult to play consistently with this character, even though Light does it. Constantly having to guess is good because certain characters don't like guessing. Like characters like Diddy don't like guessing. Characters like Joker don't like guessing. Like Cloud don't like guessing. Pyramithra don't like guessing. But when he's wrong, he can take a lot because his disadvantage isn't that good. Like it's good. I think it's underrated. I think like Shine is a really good stall tactic. I think Side B is still better than people give it credit for. I think his recovery is easy to mess with sometimes, but not as easy as people pretend it is. But he still does die. Like he just explodes sometimes. I think Fox is a really, really strong character. Obviously, Light won SmashCon and has top 8'd, like top 5'd Lich, and then got like 7th at main stage. So like character's obviously really good. Fox players bitch a little bit too much, and by a little bit I mean a lot of bit too much. But still overall can struggle sometimes. Next up, I'll put Pokemon Trainer. I think Pokemon Trainer is a really good character. Obviously, the combination of Squirtle, Ivy, and Charizard, they can kind of carry each other's weaknesses through a tournament set. I think Ivysaur is the weakest the weakest of them. I think Charizard is one of the best comeback characters in the game. And Squirtle, of course, really difficult to hit, has good combos, good grabs, does a ton of damage, and has good out-of-shield options. All of them actually have good out-of-shield options, except Ivysaur. But Ivysaur is the best mid-range of them, probably. Actually, it's still Squirtle because he has dash, F-tilt, and stuff like that. Overall, Pokemon Trainer is incredible. Good recoveries. I don't think they lose a ton of matchups. I do think they lose several, like Young Link, Min, Pika, I think Joker, I think Pyramithra. Like there are definitely characters that beat Pokemon Trainer, but they're not like unwinnable by any stretch of the imagination. So you can still definitely win as Pokemon Trainer by themselves. Like the reason Pokemon Trainer results dropped is because Tweak stopped playing the character and Leffen stopped playing the game. I think Pokemon Trainer is a very, very strong character. A little linear for what they want to do with each character, but I think overall the character is still very, very strong. At number 12, we're gonna have Roy. I know people suddenly think Roy is like top 5 or top 10. I think that is a bit high. Clearly, really good character. You can put him in top 10, I wouldn't argue. But I think Roy is slightly worse than people think he is, but obviously still incredible. Really consistent killing, jab back air, jab up air, side B, down tilt, back chases, forward tilt, random kill moves just everywhere. Good out of shield option in terms of up B, all that type of stuff. I do think that people need to focus more on the mid-range against Roy, and myself as well. I did lose to Kula, but that was for the first time I've lost to a Roy literally ever. I do think that Roy does struggle with a couple matchups. Like, I don't think his rushdown is as good as people think it is. I think he struggles with, like, Pika and Min, and honestly, I think probably loses to, like, Samus somehow. I feel like he just isn't as overwhelming as people think he is, but still incredibly overwhelming. It's not like the most overwhelming character in the game. Like, I think this character is really, really good. Clearly, like, super viable. But I think overall he's just not as good as people think he is. Still broken. Still absolutely broken. Pola, Goblin, TK3, we've seen plenty of Roy players do well. There's more than that. But yeah, I think overall he's really good, just like not top 5 broken. The last character not in top 10 is a bit of a bump from my last tier list. That's gonna be Wario. I think Wario is overall incredibly strong. Talking to Gluto about the nerfs and about Wario in general made me really believe in this character again. Waft being nerfed isn't that big of a deal because it honestly makes some combos easier. The only reason he's not top 10 is because he still does have some really bad matchups, and unfortunately, Gluto ran into both of them at main stage in Palutena and Olimar. I don't think he loses as bad to a lot of the DLC as people think he does. I think he probably loses to Pyramithra, but like Steve is probably even, Min Min's probably even, but like the character's just good. You can beat up characters with Wario like really hard without Waft. He does so much damage, his mid-range is incredible, he's just fast enough, his fall speed is like perfect for him, he's hard to edge guard because his uppy is amazing, uppy is a good out of shield option as well. He just is really, really strong, and the only nerf that really mattered was the up tilt nerf, which obviously that was important, but he still has a good anti-air up tilt, he still has tech chases, he still has bite, man grab, he has bike, which can be awkward to get around, he has like everything he needs except for a really, really thriving mid-range. But at the same time, he's one of those characters that's like, oh, my mid-range isn't super good, I might get walled out, get the hit, kill you. Which, like, that's terrifying, and that's such a good thing to have in Ultimate, where it's like, I got the hit, you dealt 60 or 70 plus advantage. Like, nair, upper, 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 nair, upper, upper, back air, nair, upper, upper, waft. Stuff like that really, really matters. Wario's broken. And I'm gonna make a tier that is called Top 10. For the top 10 characters. Obviously, this is just an extension of the super viable tier. I just wanted to make a tier just to show that they are the top 10 characters. And number 10, we have Min Min. I think Min Min's a little worse than I did before. She's really hard, but she's still broken. She invalidates so many characters. She is explosive. She can randomly kill you. She has good matchups with top tiers. She had good matchups with basically everyone. I don't think she loses a ton of matchups like definitively, but the thing is you have to be playing really well in order to play as Min Min, and against her, honestly, because if you're not, you're gonna get blown up. You're gonna jump too much and get hit. You're going to not jump and get dash attacked or dash grabbed into combo. Her disadvantage isn't super good. It's not terrible like people think it is. Same with her off stage. Like, certain characters can edge guard her pretty easily, but most can't unless you don't have your double jump. So it's very important that you keep your jump and just take the combo and stuff like that. I think Min Min's incredible. I think she could, again, be top 5, like I thought she was last patch. Like, that was just a me thing, like my perception of her changed, but also like I still want to see Proto fight all the US players. I think Proto is like insane and clearly the best Min Min.
The Min Min nerfs are the biggest nerfs that we have seen, in my opinion, since the 3.1 patch, where Pichu got nerfed, Olimar got nerfed, and Peach got nerfed. I think these nerfs are incredibly influential. The arms not doing as much shield damage means that a lot of the guaranteed shield poke and shield break setups that Min Min has or had no longer work. It means that you will have a lot more chances to get into her arms before worrying about getting shield poke because they do less damage. And I don't know if it affects shield stun to make things less plus or not. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't seen enough of Min Min since, but I'm assuming that's not the case, because if that's the case, that would be really, really bad. Of course, Dragon Laser is not nearly as active anymore, and it's a pretty big difference. I mean, you could sometimes catch people just like falling lazily off stage with Dragon Laser, and you would definitely get some kills that way. You still can get the combos and stuff that Dragon Laser ends up working with, but it's not it's just not as good. Those two nerfs matter, but not nearly as much as the Nair nerf, which now has 3 frames of landing lag across all arms, Ram, Dragon, and Megawatt. That's a really, really big deal. Not only are they less safe on shield, Megawatt now -8, Dragon now -9, Ram now -10, which are pretty universally punishable by most characters if it's not super well spaced. But also it means your combos are going to be a lot more tight. You still can get combos with landing Dragon Nair and landing Ram Nair and stuff like that, but they're way more difficult, and you have to basically be frame perfect and landing immediately after you use the move, as opposed to having some leeway. I think that Min Min can't really always do perfect landing Nairs, because that is when it becomes very easily parryable, which was already happening at top level play, and now the fact that you don't have an option to mix it up, because either it's going to be incredibly unsafe or not actually net you anything, is huge. I think it is such an influential nerf. She's still going to body the characters that she bodies, but I feel like a lot of the even matchups that Min Min could cheese out, or that she would out solid at some points, now turned into losings, and I think her losing matchups now got really bad. Like, I don't know how Min Min's supposed to run away from Sheik or Pikachu at all now. Like, it just doesn't work the same, even remotely, especially because Megawatt Bear is at safest -8, and specifically for Pikachu, -7 is the magic number, and nothing you have is safer than that. I really do think that Min Min is no longer in the super viable tier. I think she drops maybe 15 to 20 spots somewhere in the solo viable tier. I still think she's good, and I still think the matchups that she loses are not super common, although maybe she loses more to like Palu and Joker now and stuff like that, as opposed to having even or winning matchups. But I really just don't think that she's super viable anymore. I think she would probably be around the Cloud Ike hero level of where that is in my tier list. I think these nerfs are really, really big. I could be wrong, I may be overstating them, but it seems like she has a lot more problems now, so yeah.
At number 9, we got Peach. I think Peach is still insane. Anyone that doesn't put Peach in top 10 is stupid. I do think she struggles with a couple of the new DLC characters, actually, like Min Min, Steve, Pyramithra. I think they all do really well versus her. I don't know about Sephiroth. Wouldn't know about that matchup. Overall, Peach is still really good. She has really good defense. She has really good mid-range. She's just slow, so dedicated zoner characters can do really well versus her, like Rob, like Samus, like Min Min, like Steve. But she's broken. She does so much damage off of a hit. She has crazy combos. Peach players have done well since the quarantine. I mean, Ling Ling getting 9th at Riptide, Mudace getting 9th at main stage. And like, it's just hard. She's really hard to beat because she has like good disadvantage in terms of float and down air and back air and side B. She's still an incredible character, and ignoring her damage output and her walls and her edge trapping is really not fair. Next up's gonna be Mario. Mario's really good, obviously. Great combos, great neutral, great edge guarding. Flood is so good. Cape is underrated. Up air out of shield, up B out of shield. Like, T is tied for the best out of shield option in the game in terms of frame data with up B, which is big. So, like literally big. It is quite literally a big move. The up B being prevalent is really important. Of course, if you get the grab, you can kill people or do a ton of damage. This character does so much off of an interaction. Doesn't really struggle to kill because you have back throw and back air and up smash and 2 frames with dash attack and forward smash. Forward smash, of course, has the pullback. Like, it's so good. It's so good. Like, this character is ridiculous. The flaws of this character are sometimes you can get walled out, but again, it's one of those characters that's like, oh, you got walled out? Cool, but you got the hit at 30 and they died. It's hard to just be like, he is bad in these matchups. Like, no, he's not. Like, if Mario can beat Sephiroth, if Mario can beat Lucina and Sonic, then, like, he's fine in the mid-range. He might struggle with certain matchups like fucking Min Min, stuff like that, but still a really good character, really potent, and yeah, this character's ridiculous. Next up is gonna be Game & Watch. How do y'all pretending that this character's not broken? He's broken. He has the best up air in the game, the best nair in the game, the best up B in the game, the best down smash in the game, and probably the best up smash in the game. He has so many good moves. Chef is so invalidating of characters. Up air is so invalidating of characters. So is nair. But yeah, Game & Watch literally invalidates so many characters. He's so good. The only flaw of Game & Watch is sometimes his mid-range is bad. If you can constantly play at that mid-range and just make him guess whether he has to do early nair or late nair, and that can be really, really difficult for certain characters who do. Most characters can't really do that. Certain characters can, like Pyramithra, Roy, Palutena, Rob, Shulk, like the characters that do well versus Game & Watch, but at the same time, he's so explosive that like you get the one hit, even in those bad matchups, you get the one hit and you kill them. Next up, Palutena. Palutena is broken. I don't know why people think this character's suddenly bad because of her nerfs. She's really good. She controls the neutral. She controls the advantage state. Nair super good, back air super good. She has back air and dash attack that are invincible. She has consistent, good moves. She's not really that great at killing, but consistent 2 frames with down tilt and up smash. She basically just has an option for every single situation. Her disadvantage isn't that bad because she has teleport, whether it's ledge canceling or just high. She has auto reticle and explosive flame to force people to approach. She loses some matchups, like Pika. I think Pika is a terrible, terrible matchup, but like, that's about it, honestly. I don't know who else she loses to. I'm sure there are some, like Inkling and stuff like that. I think she also loses to Steve, honestly. But like, obviously her nerfs over the course of time have mattered. Like, down throw bear nerf was like literally almost 2 years ago. But she's still so good. Nair up tilt being a thing is really important. I saw Louis Money doing Nair, or it was either Louis Money or Chag, I don't remember. It was like Nair drag down up tilt on tall characters. That's really, really cool. This character just has everything. Really good Nair, really good up air, really good back air. Arguably the best back in the game, honestly. I think Pika's is better, but like, it's arguable. Yeah, the character has like everything you want, basically, in a character. At 5th best, we have Pac-Man. Pac-Man's broken. Because listen, I started to think it a couple months ago. Then when Kokiri made a tier list, she put Pac-Man as top 3. It got me thinking, I'm like, huh. Pac-Man's really kind of broken, isn't he? He has like no flaws, except for the fact that he loses to like Cloud and like probably Pyra Mythra. But his character's so good. T has such consistent results. Have other Pac-Man as well, doing well. I know Dee Dee's trying to play the character again. I know Shinji does well. But Pac-Man's absolutely broken. He has one of the best, if not the best, applicable recovery in the game. He does so much damage. He kills really early. He has a final smash for his forward smash. He just does literally whatever he wants. He camps. He like can invalidate characters because of camping. He can invalidate characters because of rush down. He has one of the best grabs in the game. He has constant grab combos, kill throw. He has hydrant setups. He has literally everything. He has literally everything you could ever need. Bell in hand is broken. Galaga in hand is broken. He can't ledge trap him because he can just get those items and throw them. They go through the stage for some reason, or at least some of them do. Pac-Man's absolutely broken. His mid-range is good too because he has dash fair, or like, oh, you're playing mid-range? Cool, drop down hydrant. You know. 4th best, we have Wolf. Wolf is incredible. He has everything. He doesn't have a super good recovery, but he's a little bit more explosive than the other top tiers. Because he has things like Fair Bear Flash, Fair Bear for killing, F-Tilt. He's consistent neutral. Literally, the main issues with Wolf is his recovery, which is scary to deal with. His out of shield option isn't great from spaced moves, but if you don't space aerials onto his shield, he can footstool up you out of shield, which is really, really strong. He has a ton of damage. He has great throws, great throw combos, great combos in general. He constantly just is dealing 40 or 50% to you from like random stray hits, like random nairs, random fairs. His tech chasing is really good. The character's just really, really strong overall, in my opinion. Not really anything to say about this. He's broken. And number 3, we got Joker. Number 3 and number 2 swapped in my last tier list. I think Joker's incredible still, obviously. Really hard to hit, ton of damage, good throws, great neutral. The only problem with Joker is he doesn't really have any approaching hitboxes. Like, he constantly has to rely on people approaching into him, which is why he struggles with certain characters like Mega Man and mostly Mega Man. And of course he struggles with like Pika, Pichu, Sonic. So he does have some losing matchups. Obviously everyone in this game has losing matchups, so that's not really a surprise. But Joker is still an incredible character. Arsene is ridiculous. That comeback factor is so dumb. His gun is amazing. Side B is amazing. All of his aerials are really, really good. Yeah, the character is just incredible. Rebel's Guard is so good. Otherwise his disadvantage is pretty good even without Rebel's Guard because he has gun, like down gun. But yeah, character is really, really nuts. Absolutely ridiculous, actually. So dumb. So dumb. Leo doesn't play Joker as much anymore because he mostly plays Byleth. The character's still ridiculous. Don't let anyone fool you. The character's fucked up. Now here's the decision. I'm just with you. It's number 2 is Pyra Mythra. I still think Peak is the best. But Pyra Mythra is ridiculous. They have a great mid-range. They have great out-of-shield options. They constantly kill you. Mythra just wins neutral for free. It's difficult to deal with if you don't have like a really good out-of-shield option or footstool out-of-shield option. She's just too fast. She's literally too fast. She just makes you guess constantly. Her advantage is incredible. She can advantage even the best of characters at getting out of this advantage because she's literally just so fast. Her air-to-airs are really good. Her combos are really good. Then you switch to Pyra in advantage, and Pyra is just like, can punish neutral air dodges, some of the best in the game with down air. She has down tilt, forward tilt, up air. Like every move that they both have is really good. She does lose several matchups in my opinion. I think she loses really bad to Min. I think that matchup's like atrocious. Pika also wins pretty heavily. I think she loses a couple more that I can't think of off the top of my head. But she's still like one of those characters that's like, oh, I lose the matchup, but I win anyway. Pyra Mythra is ridiculous. I mean, piloted by such good players right now. Leo, when he was playing them, although he just sticks to Byleth now, you have, of course, Spargo, who's God. You have Cosmos, who's really good. Good edge guarding. Obviously is susceptible to getting edge guarded. I still think people are mediocre at edge guarding Pyra Mythra, which is the only reason they're not number 1 right now. But yeah, they're just really good overall.
The nerfs to Pyra and Mythra, in my opinion, are a deal, but they're not a big deal. I think losing a couple of % killing on Mythra forward smash is a decently big deal because now down tilt 2-frame into forward smash won't kill as easily, basically. I think with Raid it's still really, really good, but just in general, just removing some of the dumbest cheese from this character is going to affect her just a little bit, or affect them just a little bit, I guess. With Mythra, now you're going to more so rely on Pyra for kills, although you can still just just play amazing neutral and get an advantage win, and eventually get a forward smash a little bit later than you would with Mithra, but not getting a certain kill is the difference between winning a game and not, and winning a set and not. So that could be influential. I mean, I don't think influential enough to drop her at worst to third. Like, maybe she's slightly worse than Joker now, where I put her in the last tier list, but it's not that big of a deal. And then the Pyra side B was added 3 frames of end lag, which doesn't really matter if you hit. You can still combo into the footstool. It doesn't really matter on shield, but it does matter on whiff and on some of the recoveries, because you can actually just like get to areas that are safe from it and punish a little bit easier. Like you can run off and grab the ledge and punish, you know, the air dodge or side B or up B a little bit easier now, which can, again, that can be a pretty big deal, but you always have to be really, really aware of that type of stuff, because 3 frames do matter, but they're not like as influential as landing like frames like in Min or something. So I still think Pyra Mithra an incredible character. I just think these are small little fixes to not make her as egregious. So I think she's still easily top 3 at worst, maybe probably still second in my opinion. But yeah, this character is still nuts and they're broken.
And of course, the number 1 character is my tier list. Of course, he's hard, don't get me wrong, but I think he has enough easy stuff. Air loops, I think upper bridges are not as difficult as people think they are. Like, I need to like learn how to play mid-range and bait with my movement more. I'm being way too obvious right now in what I want to do, but even then, some of his obvious stuff is just good. Like, I obviously do things against people like Cola, people like Light, and even people like Leo at some level. And it just works. Back air's broken, T-Jolt's broken, it's a free approach tool. He has one of the best recoveries, if not the best recovery in the game. He has a non-2-frameable angle, which is still really important that I'm trying to learn. He's a really good character. Pika's broken. Low profile, so it makes it really difficult to punish him, as most characters. He just has such a solid matchup spread, and if you just play patiently enough, like, all of his flaws kind of just go away. Because his flaw is his range, but if you play patient enough and you have T-Jolt and down tilt and your movement and quick attack, then like you're fine. Quick attack is a great with punishing tool. There's just like so many good things about Peach. He's the best in my opinion. I think he overall has the best matchup spread. I think overall he has the best stage pool. I think overall nothing's wrong with him. Literally, except the players playing it. Fortunately, that's me. So
Pikachu, busted.